Shadow, and this is the 7th episode in my commentaries on my kill videos for Amirdrassil. This is Smolderon, which is probably going to be the last one for a while because I'm sat for Tyndall, unless something changes a lot. And then we'll see with Farak. But yeah, let's get into the talents first, just like with the other videos. In terms of DPS talents, it's a single target boss. There's like no real decision to be made. Flay or Spike, I think it's very clearly a Spike boss. You move so much, you will not get that many Flays off realistically. So I played Spike. I think that's probably the correct choice. On the class side, this is what I played, but there is an argument for Angel's Mercy, which is, so the reason I didn't play it is we specifically got told always CD the second tank soak per phase. For that, you don't need Angel's Mercy. Those are significantly longer apart. Like it's like a minute 40, I think, between the second and the next second soak. So no need for Angel's Mercy, it does nothing. However, if you instead want to make sure you can always Angel's Mercy when you are actually soaking the tank soak, that's when you need Angel's Mercy. Those are 1 minute 8 seconds apart as the closest timing, which means you can use it either longer before just to make sure it's ready for the next one, so pre-use it, or if you use it to actually help break the healing absorb, then it'll be slightly delayed with each time, assuming you actually get a 2 and then a 1. If you get 1, 1 or 2, 2, then it doesn't matter. It's only when it's 2 and then 1 for the tank soak. That's when you want Angel's Mercy, assuming this is the play you're going for. It is a lot of healing that goes into the healing absorb. It will help a lot, but we had issues with healing absorbs getting popped staggered. So just for consistency, I actually ended up using Desperate Prayer before the hit, just to be higher real health, rather than to get through the healing absorb faster. Yeah, then other than that, I just played the same things I usually do. I like Crystalline Reflection. I press Powered Shield way too much, so you don't need Fade cooldown reduction. You can fade every tank hit regardless. And when I say tank hit, I mean basically the overlap of tank hit and tornado. You always have fade for those, so no need to worry about that. You can even fade in the intermission as well, in between, during the dance phase. I just never did, because I'm dumb. But that does also work timing-wise. DPS CDs on this fight, the way I've seen basically everybody use them pretty consistently is you send on pull, just everything, pot, just PI, DA, all of it. Then in the first dance phase, some people just send on cooldown. Personally, as you'll see, I send Bender during the knock and then DA after the knock. Then I have a bit of time without the orb stacks, but then most of my CDs are still going to overlap with the orbs. Second PI, you just send on cooldown again. There's nothing to delay for or anything, you just press it. Then you have another set of 1 minutes, also just send them. You have a little bit of wiggle room with these 3 sets, so the dance, the random PI, and the DA randomly after that. You can delay them a little bit, even longer than I did, because as long as you have them at around 4:25, 4:30, that's all you care about, because that's when you'll have the dance with Bloodlust and with your full cooldowns and an easy dance. So that's where you want to make sure to have them. And then after that, you just send on cooldown again. There's not really anything super deep to be done there. You just press them. it won't overlap nicely with the lands again, so you just don't worry about it, just press them. So I think that covers all the cooldowns, so let's go to trinkets. There's one thing to note here. I finally got Ashes, which is basically the same trinket as Branch, except the big difference is Branch loses value if you take damage. So you don't want to take damage, or you don't want to play Branch on fights where you're constantly taking damage during your CDs. On Smolderon, you're always taking damage, so Branch loses a lot of value, and Ashes is just solid. And then second trinket Pips. You can play the Suncaller trinket if you want to. I was scared for my life the entire time, so I did not. But you can. You can just press it in intermissions 1 and 4, I think it is. Basically, don't use it when you're using your CDs. Just use it in between somewhere, ideally in the intermissions. But yeah, that's about it. You can play Nimue instead of this Ashes as well. That's even better. It's annoying because it has a cast time and standing still is frustrating, but yeah, it should work just fine. So let's get into it. On pull, every cooldown, you should be able to move pretty nicely going into the first Tornado Tank Soak. Like you see here, I just stand still for a bit, and then I'll end up going all the way around to give our melee healers some room. This should really be some more mobile range doing it, but what can you do? You want to dodge tornadoes, don't do what I just did there. Then after these geysers have been baited, you don't need to be on the other side immediately. You can just wait a bit, walk around. When you get an orb, make sure you soak when you're being told to. In my case, being 3 here was completely comfy because it meant I could soak just before the tank soak. This was the second, so I Vamp Embrace. You can do that for every other. So every even tank soak is when it makes the most sense. That's the spookiest one. Then you don't want to move as slowly as I did here. Pretty far behind where I should be, but I wanted to get the Void Torrent off. So yeah, then you pick up your orbs. CDs are going already. Keep in mind, a lot of our abilities don't actually require facing your target, particularly all your instants, your Shadow at Pain, your Death, obviously Powered Shield. So while picking up orbs, it's quite nice to just use those, Death, Pain, Powered Shield, to cover that movement. That way you can just turn around like an absolute moron and walk around instead of trying to keep the boss in front of you. And just generally, one note for the set bonus, it makes Shadow of Pain a pretty solid movement GCD, meaning you don't need to hold it until 10 or 12 or whatever stacks. If you need to move and have no other good buttons, like if you don't have Death, if you don't have a Mind Blast proc, just send your lower stack set bonus. It's fine. But yeah, then here you can see we're on the second tank soak again. I'll be pressing my Fade, Vamp Embrace, and Desperate Prayer in the opposite order of what I just said, whatever. Yeah. If you can, try to bait into old gaps. In this case, it didn't work. All the baits went on people in front, but at least I tried. The fire doesn't hurt that much. You can walk through it, you can goblin jump over. You'll see me do it a few times because it's just not that spooky. In this intermission, you have no CDs. You just kind of play in your standard rotation. So it doesn't matter as much that you pick up the orbs immediately. You can just leave them a bit, as long as you get all of them, obviously. For the gateway, try to have either a set bonus or a death or something to press, so the GCD ticks over during the gateway travel time. Just generally a nice thing to do with gateway, pressing an instant before you use it. Then I press my just random CD that's not being buffed by anything. You can see I have Case's weak set up just to remind myself with a personal note to press Fade and Desperate Prayer. And for the Desperate Prayer one, I also know that means Fade and Vamp Embrace in addition to Desperate Prayer. Yeah, with the weak we switched to tonight, which is the like automatic threat-based one, I end up being 3 or 4 basically all the time. It's really annoying, but there's nothing you can really do about it. Just make sure you bait the orb away if you have to do a tank soak, so it doesn't float in while you're trying to soak it, or so it doesn't blow up during the vulnerability while you're soaking the tank thing, because that's messed up if that happens. Here we're going into the Bloodlust dance phase, so I'm sitting on my CDs for a little bit. I probably pressed them a little bit early here actually. Like I shouldn't be pressing them yet. I should just get my orbs and then press them, or at least get most of my orbs. You'll see it lines up decently anyway, but it could have been better. And then another thing you'll see right here, because I have Iridal, you want to make sure you use that at 5 stacks in an intermission, because it will do a lot more damage, and you only get 1 cast on this fight, I'm pretty sure. Might get a second just at the end, but making sure you get the doubled damage is really big. You can cast it during the GCD, it doesn't trigger one, so as I did in that intermission, you want to press a Death or Shadow at Pain with a set bonus or an instant Mind Blast or whatever immediately before pressing the staff. The cast time is half a GCD or something, so the timing isn't super tight, but it saves you some time. And then here, the Void Torrents are really annoying to fit in. A lot of the time there's going to be some mechanic happening, like there the fire grew underneath me, so I took a bit of extra damage. It is what it is. And then here, I'm about to die, because I apparently took a tornado hit, and I was already incredibly low, didn't have health but health stone to fix it, and I was pressing Shadow of Death because that's my job. I press Shadow of Death. But this is just going into the last dance phase. This one isn't too bad either. It's not as easy as the Bloodlust one, where you just go from 1-2-1-2 or 2-3-2-3, but it's pretty chill. There's a gateway during this one, just like during the second dance. And then after this dance phase, there'll be basically another soft enrage dancey thing, where he just fills in the room. During that, you just get close to the boss, get knocked away a bit, and then start to step back in with instants. Like this is the knock, you'll see they get knocked away. You don't need to be inside the boss immediately. He fills in 1 ring at a time, so you can just stutter step slowly into him. I'll show a wipe where this happens, but yeah, that's basically what it looks like when you kill the boss. Very messy, people die, which really just shows the DPS check isn't difficult. You don't need to optimize DPS perfectly. It's just living to the end, making sure you do damage during the burn phases. That's the big one. Let me just find the other good pull. It's this one. During this pull, I also die, so it will look really dumb how I use my CDs towards the end. Like you'll see here, I've been rezzed. I have all of my CDs ready for the last burn, rather than the third one, because I just didn't get to use them in between. I also didn't get the Bloodlust, which means for this burn, I will be asking for Bloodlust and just trying to pump as much as I can, but we just barely don't make the check. But yeah, you'll see here again, bait the pools, get the orbs, tank soak, and then if we go here, this is going to the last intermission. Wait, that was too far. Oh no, it wasn't, because I used a random DA bender in between, because I knew the timer for the stage was long enough that I could fit that in, and it wouldn't mess up my final burn, even though I'd already messed up all of my CDs by doing the stupid death. Yeah, so here I'm picking up my orbs, waiting as long as I can with pressing my CDs, asking for Bloodlust. I get it basically immediately when I ask for it. Press my CDs. Just forget my Vampiric Touch, as I do all the time, because that's just something I don't pay enough attention to. Here again, you saw me send my Amirdrassil during a GCD. And then here I had the Goblin Jump because I wasn't with the raid, so I didn't get the speed boost and wouldn't have made it in otherwise. But yeah, then here you can see just slowly stutter stepping in during instants, not sprinting in because there's no reason to. And then we just barely wipe at 1.5%. But yeah, this basically covers Smolderon. Hopefully it was of some use, and I will see you for maybe Ferak, maybe a Tindral at some point if I decide to do a re-kill video rather than first kill. But yeah, we'll see. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.